Hi, Dave here, and today we're going to check out the work of Daniel Clarke. He's an artist based in Cape Town, South Africa. He's an illustrator, concept / fine artist. I did find his work first in YouTube. It was just randomly recommended to me, one of his videos, and he does have quite a few videos on his YouTube channel. They're pretty short, and they're in time-lapse fashion, or they're not in real time. However, his process is rather simple. It's kind of straight to the point, not much to it, pretty basic. He does exaggerate a lot of his forms, but I do believe he does have reference on the side to do these images. And most of his work is just character studies, designs. Now you can tell he does exaggerate them, the proportions. He does focus a lot on anatomy and fashion, folds. He's pretty good with the fabrics, or when doing fabrics. He does have a couple of environments in his recent work, but that's not the bulk of his portfolio on ArtStation. So if you look at his work, it's this is an example of his environment concept art illustration. He does have a gouache-like approach. He doesn't do a lot of mixing with, say, the mixer brush or smudge tool. He's pretty straight to the point. And the textures, the thing I see the most is the noise texture, which he probably adds in the end, and maybe a bit of brush texture in the edges. But they do have that gouache-like look where they feel like they were done on paper, canvas. Like, it does have like a breaking, like the edges of some of this the edges on some of these strokes do break, so you can see a bit of texture there. But for the most part, he doesn't have like a lot of brush variety in his work. It's pretty straight to the point. Moving on, here's another environment concept art. Same thing, same process. Very illustration-esque, like it's meant to be in a book, some kind of album cover. And it does look like a traditional painting. If you zoom in, and you can tell there's a bit of noise in the end added to just tie everything together. And it almost looks like an anime environment or background scene, just because of the simplicity of the brushwork. I wish, did he do clouds in the other? Oh, he did, but it's not anime-esque. I see more variation with the environment, lots of hue variation. They're still within strong sectioned families, but within each major shape, there's a bit of variation. Now, obviously, some of that variation is meant for the actual design. For example, this is a farming land, so it kind of makes sense to have a varied hue set within the green and yellows, just because it's farm, or it's a valley of sorts. So yeah. So here we have, he does a lot of studies. These ones are more portraits. Here you can tell this is the Terminator chick. I'm not sure who this is. Denzel Washington. I'm not sure what the character is. This one is Brad Pitt as Tyler Durden. This is the Kill Bill chick, although this film is like, fuck. The actor with her is, I remember Samuel L. Jackson and John Travolta being in this film. It's kind of a classic film, but this is obviously shit. John Wick, starred by Keanu Reeves. Ooh, now this guy I'm not aware of. I have no idea who this guy is. This one is Sean Connery. Oh, he's dead. He passed away, so R.I.P. to him. He was a beast. This is the Blade guy. I forgot his real name. Damn. And this is Padme. She's from the film with the bald guy, the spy, assassin kind of guy. It's a good film. And he does include a couple of videos. Some are linked to YouTube and some are just, I'm not sure how this works, but it's kind of in or within ArtStation. And if you see his process, it's pretty basic. Simple line sketch, flat colors in the beginning to section out the parts of the figure. And then he has this gouache-like approach. He breaks it down value by value. Like each value has its own shape. And he tends to use this, it's almost like a square brush, like a basic blocky brush. Sometimes though, if you just skip it, and that's pretty much the whole process. Sometimes he'll start with a random or with a sketch, and then he'll have a phase where he gets impressionistic when it comes to the colors. I think I can find it somewhere here. With this guy, you can tell he did the line sketch in the beginning, flat colors, and then this is the part where he does go crazy with the colors, but that's the only impressionistic part. That's pretty like strong. Everything else he does get a bit more gouache as he goes along. Now here it does look a bit more like an oil painting in some parts. It feels blended, but I don't think he uses any mixer brush or smudge tool of any kind. He's more of a straight type of person, or a direct painter, which I do like. It's kind of my thing. He does like to section his process, line sketch, a color base, and then he'll do the main paint over. So let's go back to some of the images here. So here we have a fan art of Spirited Away. My sister has a crush on this guy. I'm guessing till now, just because he has this cool vibes about him, and he's pretty cute. No homo. Here we have Princess Mononoke. Now this one is my crush. She's hot, she's cute, very, very tribalistic, animalistic. And you can tell not a lot of texture in his work. Very, very straight to the point. His brush again is quite blocky. And it's more of an illustration. Nice. Moving on. So this is more of a process of his Princess Mononoke fan art, line sketch, flat colors, and then the actual rendering or painting phase. It's very, very direct, not much to it. And I guess doing a lot of studies. I mean, he has a couple here. Not a couple, but a lot of real world studies. I think it helps him obviously gain confidence with his brushstrokes, but at the same time kind of subconsciously understand the breakdown of certain forms and values and things like fabric anatomy. I'm pretty sure he has like a basic, well, not basic, but a solid enough understanding just because of his amount of work. Anyway, moving on. We have this chick. I remember this chick. I think she was featured in the ArtStation page, like homepage. Look at how impressionistic it is. Now this one's a bit gouache and impressionistic. I like seeing the playfulness of the brushstrokes. Even the background has a bit of character in it. That's a good face. Even the hair, I love the way it was broken down. Very, very impressionistic. And in this case, he's not using a blocky gouache-like brush. It has an oily type of feel to it. So for the process, line sketch in the beginning. And then just a base flat color. And then this is where he'll add the random bits of color with some of it has color dynamics on, and then some random hue variation here and there. And then everything else he just paints on top eventually. He does turn the line sketch on and off. So I'm guessing the line sketch is in multiply mode, like on top of all of the layers. And then eventually he'll eventually stop turning that layer on and off, because the painting is going to take more of that front look. It's going to take over the entire piece. And yeah, it's not a bad piece. It's a good piece. It's very oily though, or not as gouache, but more oily. Or it has that oil look. Now this is the guy earlier. It does have that oily. Oh, I guess he did use a mixer brush. Shit. But even the text here, it looks so impressionistic. So I guess this guy and this chick is the impressionistic or it's the impressionistic side of him coming out. Here we have another guy. I think he did show the process of this dude, but look at how he breaks down the folds. Even these pants have a variety in them: reds, greens, some yellows. So it's not boring to look at. Even his back, I mean, sure, he has that dark brown skin, but you can see a lot of blues and greens and reds, so it's not boring. And I guess in real life you'll actually see these colors if you're paying attention. But the common problem is, if you're kind of starting out, you tend to just limit yourself to one hue, and that can make your pieces boring, or if not boring, less realistic. Even if this guy is obviously stylized, like you can tell the proportions are pushed in some parts because of the way it's colored. Even if it's exaggerated, like the hue variation, it has that realistic look to it. So the values are good, and the hues are, even though it's exaggerated, it makes sense. You know, it makes it look alive. Ooh. So here we have the process of the video, or the video process line sketch. Very, very rough, not too clean. He'll obviously paint over that. Again, the impressionistic base. And then with a bunch of colors, he'll obviously eventually paint over that, and that's where it all happens. A very, very standard approach. It's more... the process is basic, but it gets the job done. So that's good. Here we have a chick. Now this one is more gouache-like in nature. The brushes are way simpler. I'm guessing you just use a round brush of some kind. Not a lot of texture. Now even for this guy, even if it's it still has an oily look just because of the brush being used. It has that like you can see the bristles in some way, but for this person or this chick, reminds me of the work of Mikhail. I'm saying his name wrong. Mikhail Sotriuk. He does a lot of flat types of illustrations. He doesn't have a lot of texture in his work, but it has that strong, impactful graphical look to it. And in a way, this is somewhat graphical just because of the lack of texture, but it still makes sense. I like it. So here's the process. I think it's the same thing. Line sketch. Flat colors. Just organizing the parts of the figure, and then everything else is just breaking down on the values. So this is think of Lion Decker. He's a classic. I think he does use gouache, maybe not, I'm not sure, but he has this kind of look where each value is kind of its own shape in the painting, and it has that sectionized type of look. You don't see a lot of blending involved, like smooth gradations, and I think it does contribute to that graphical look in the end. It's more impactful. You can see it a bit in anime art. Anyway, now this is a guy. Yep, a guy. Same approach, not a lot of texture. The brushes are super simple, but look at how much it actually looks good. And this is proof that you don't actually need the best brushes to make good artwork. The way he smoothed out the folds, he did it value by value. Each value, or each hue has its own value. He could have used a soft brush, but you can create that gradation with just a hard, round, basic brush. Obviously, if you zoom in, it's going to be way more obvious. See, the breaking or the shifting of each value or hue is going to be way more obvious. But if you zoom out, it works. So no worries. Here we have another chick, same style, very, very straight to the point. Simple, hard brushes. Very, very graphical in nature, gouache-like. Now this chick is actually kind of smooth. Now, yes, if you zoom in, you can see the breakdown of values, but it's a bit... I think he spent more time with this image. Now for this one, I think he posts most of the videos on his YouTube channel. So I do recommend you just watch a couple of them and you'll get a sense of his process. Now if you zoom out, she does look somewhat realistic because there's so much, it's too smooth to be, or there's not enough simplification, kind of like this chick. So it does have, even the coat, the jacket, damn. The folds, it's amazing. Now obviously I do recommend you use reference so you can actually get to practice your brush strokes, your breakdown of values, and even some color choices if you want to change a couple of colors. And you'll see how there are, if you color pick, let's say a photo, you can see different colors in one. Let's say in this orange jacket, you can see a bunch of greens and maybe even some blue sometimes, depending on the environment. So I think it's a great example of what you can do with your studies. And you don't have to stick to it one-to-one. He does exaggerate a lot of his figures. But like the legs, the shoes. But this one again is pretty realistic. He was able to achieve that soft look for this jacket, which is pretty cool. Like it's a wool fleece type of coat. As you zoom in, you can see that breakdown even more, but it's too small to see, or it's hard to see even in this level. So just spend more time. Now for artworks like these or these, you don't have to go as far, but if you just spend more time, you can reach this level of detail, I guess. So here we have another chick, another fashion chick. He does limit himself to athletes and fashion babes or dudes. So it's good to have the concentrated subject matter that you actually like to study. Same thing here. Now, this one is a bit more broken down. If you look at the fashion, the amount of folds here is amazing. The brushwork is simple, not a lot of texture. The graphic shapes are pretty strong. And when it comes to shapes, I guess, or silhouettes, he's pretty good. And then obviously the rendering, like this chick and this chick, he can go deeper. Oof. Yeah. And for the backgrounds, he does leave it simple, not just white. He likes to just add a bit of color. There's a plain background. A lot of his paintings or studies can actually become prints just because it looks good. Damn, right? Nice folds here. It's being squished a bit. It's pretty tight. Some greens here, some purples, some reds. The skin isn't just brown. It's going to have a bunch of colors. Some yellows over here. If you zoom out, strong silhouette, and then a great breakdown of values and hues. With, I'm guessing, a simple brush, again, not a lot of texture in his brushwork. Very, very straight to the point. Very, very nice. Amazing. Here we have another dude, same thing with the folds. It's kind of like in the level of this chick. This guy and this chick, same level of detail. Now for this one, it's somewhat the same, but it's hard to see just because he did spend more time blending some parts of the body. You can see a nice breakdown of the values and hues in the face. And it does make the face look more structured. Here we have a guy in a nice suit, lots of folds. He loves his folds. Kind of looks like Idris Elba. Anyway, yeah. Now the background is white. He usually adds a bit of color, like blue or just a basic random color to complement the figure. Here we have a ballet dancer with the coat. Nice calves, damn. And those thighs are thick. Now, he does exaggerate some of the body parts. It's obvious. And it gives you some leeway. So you don't have to be as intense or as hardcore when studying one-to-one. You can exaggerate some parts if you want to. Make the hands bigger, make the head smaller, make the person thinner or fatter, whatever. Or exaggerate the folds. Look at those knees. And I think he does paint within, again, if you zoom out, one solid silhouette. He does pay attention to the edges of the entire thing. So he likes to keep the edges of the whole figure rather clean and separate from the background. Some shadow here, just for... Oh, look at those feet. Anyway, moving on. Oh, here we have a nice chick. She's kind of tired, but I do like the way he did. I like the way he did the background. It's a bit oily. It has that oily look to it, texture. I can see a bit of brush spacing involved. I think he did sharpen this entire thing, my guess. And I do like the bits of texture here to emulate some kind of canvasness to it. I can see the pencil-like strokes here, very, very impressionistic. The brushwork is kept simple. Not a lot of texture. Very, very direct way of painting. And he loves his folds. Even the face is well broken down into each. It has, like, you can see the chunks of values. It's not just a smooth rendition of the face. I think I did recently an art review of Jinwoo Sung. And if you see the rendering or the way he renders the face, it's rather smooth. And the approach is different. Now for Daniel Clarke, he's a bit more sectionalized. Very, very gouache, Lion Decker-ish. Here we have an Akira fan art. I haven't seen the anime yet, but I've heard good stuff about it. So I'm going to check it out eventually. Now this one is way more realistic. The lighting, it's not as graphic. Lots of overall lighting difference. Soft gradients here and there. It is rather realistic. You can still see a bit of that breakdown in values in the face, but it's too small. So it contributes to that. If you zoom out, it's hardly noticeable. So for the last piece, he does have a couple of these dudes. I think they're called people. Like the Senegal. I'm actually viewing these images as images, and I'm actually not in ArtStation, but they're like is Senegal a country? Fuck me. I think it's a country. Right? Shit. Or a town. But they're apparently they're wrestlers in somewhere in Africa. And he does a bunch of these, and the amount of muscles, or I think he did a batch of them, like 4 at once, or 5 consecutive studies of these wrestlers. And it's a great study when it comes to anatomy. Like, they have the best bodies, no doubt. And look at the way he breaks down. The skin tone isn't just a dark brown skin tone. It has so much in it. The purples, the blues, the cyans, or this one is kind of purple blue. Damn, some reds, some oranges. It makes the image look alive. Even if it's somewhat exaggerated, obviously the forearms are like super big. He does exaggerate them, the anatomy, the proportions. However, just because of the way it's rendered, it has that realistic aspect to it. Even this orange part right here, you can tell that they're fighting in some kind of mud or some sandy environment, and it's kind of it is being reflected onto the bottom part of the two guys here. You can see it a bit in the forearms of this dude, this first dude, and then this other guy that's kind of under him, right here in the forearms and in the belly. And look at that breakdown of the values. I can see a bit of color dynamics here, so that's kind of nice. For this part of the belt, or I think it's a belt, it's a bit graphic, very, very straight to the point, and there is some color dynamics in them. He does add some noise in the end. And the background, again, is kept simple. It kind of goes along with it complements the actual figures that's being studied. He does have a couple of videos on this, or on like body heavy or anatomy heavy studies on his YouTube channel. We'll check it out here. Right here. I am glad that he did post his process for these dudes. And he has a lot of videos, so, and they're not that long. They're fuck. They're usually within 1 minute, so it's enough to kind of get the gist of his work, because it's not like you can learn more just by watching a longer version. He has a very standard approach. It's that he does them consistently, and he has a specific thing that he actually likes to study. So I think we'll end the video here. I do recommend you follow him on ArtStation. He does have a decent following. Unfortunately, he doesn't have any other legitimate social media aside from his YouTube channel, so I do recommend you follow him also, or subscribe to him on his YouTube channel. And yeah, try to study as much as you can, kind of like Daniel Clarke, and limit your studies to things that you actually like to study. For him, it's fashion babes or fashion dudes and some anatomy heavy people. So keep drawing, keep painting, keep learning, and stay free.